midnight shift can play tricks on your mind. Ask anyone who's worked it. Your memory gets a little fuzzy, your attention wanders, and your sense of time, well, that gets weird. It's a well-documented fact. But what isn't documented are the stories whispered between workers in the dead of night in places designed to operate without witnesses. This story takes place in one of those places. It's a manufacturing facility just outside some mid-sized American city. A windowless, functional box built for efficiency, not comfort. The factory runs 24 hours a day, split into 3 shifts. The midnight shift, as you'd expect, is always the quietest. The man at the center of our story had worked nights for years. He actually preferred it. Fewer people, less small talk, just the steady, predictable rhythm of the machines. That night, he clocked in at midnight, just like any other. His badge scanned, the digital display confirmed his start time, 12 a.m. First few hours were completely normal. He did his routine checks, logged the readings, adjusted a few settings. The factory floor hummed with its usual constant motion. Conveyor belts moved, indicator lights blinked. Nothing felt out of place. Around 2:45 a.m., he glanced up at the big digital clock on the wall. A few minutes later, it hit to 59. He watched it, waiting for the hour to roll over. It did, 3 a.m., and then it stayed there. At first, he just figured the clock was broken. It happens, so he checked his wristwatch, 3 a.m. Then he pulled out his phone, 3 a.m. All 3 of them matched perfectly. He let out a little laugh. Weird coincidence, he thought. Electronics can sync up wrong. He went back to work. After what felt like a solid 15 minutes, he checked again. The wall clock, 3 a.m. His watch, 3 a.m. His phone, 3 a.m. And that's when he noticed the sound of the factory had changed. It was subtle. The machines were still running, but the rhythm felt too flatter, less dynamic. The lights were blinking in the exact same pattern over and over again without any variation. He walked over to the break room. The vending machine lights were on, but the little digital clock on the microwave read the same time. 3 a.m. He grabbed his radio to call his supervisor. No response. He tried again. Just crackling static. He switched channels. Same thing. The unease was starting to bubble up, replacing the confusion. He walked to the main exit doors. They were unlocked, just as they should be for safety. He pushed one open and stepped out into the night. But the night was wrong. The sky was dark, but it was a flat, suspended kind of dark, that moment right before dawn when the world seems to hold its breath. There was no breeze, no crickets, nothing. The lights in the parking lot cast these identical, unmoving shadows. He quickly stepped back inside. The clock on the wall still said 3 a.m. He told himself to just focus on his tasks. Routine would ground him, so he did a full checklist, a job that normally took him almost an hour. When he finished, he looked up at the clock, 3 a.m. He tried to reason with himself. Fatigue distorts perception. Sleep deprivation can make you feel like you're in a time loop. These are real psychological effects. This is all in my head, he told himself. And that's when he realized something else. The other workers were gone. The midnight shift was a skeleton crew, just 5 people spread out across the massive floor. It wasn't odd not to see them for a while, but this was different. It was the total absence of them. No footsteps, no distant chatter, just the flat hum of the machines. He called out, "Hello." His voice sounded dull, like the air was swallowing the sound. No one answered. He started walking the length of the factory, checking every station. They were all empty. Tools were left exactly where they'd be in the middle of a task. A coffee cup was still warm. He checked the clock again, 3 a.m. Real panic started to press in. He forced himself to breathe slowly. Okay, power anomalies can mess with network clocks. People can step outside for a smoke. None of this means the impossible is happening. Then the intercom crackled to life. A voice spoke. It wasn't distorted. It wasn't rushed. It was perfectly clear. Remain at your station. The voice didn't identify itself. He yelled back into the silence, demanding to know who it was. The intercom just clicked off. He started backing away slowly, and that's when he saw it. The machines hadn't just changed their rhythm, they had stopped progressing entirely. They were moving, but nothing was being completed. No cycles were finishing. No new alarms were triggering. The entire factory was in motion, but it was going nowhere. The realization hit him like a physical blow. shift wasn't just continuing, it was repeating the same single moment, over and over. He ran to the time clock by the entrance and scanned his badge again, hoping it would somehow reset the system. The screen just flickered. Clocked in, 12 a.m. He had never clocked out. How long he stayed there after that, he isn't sure. He remembers sitting with his back against a cold concrete wall, just watching the lights and listening to the machines breathe. He remembers trying to sleep and being completely unable to. And he remembers the intercom coming on one more time with the same calm, clear instruction. Remain at your station, and then, just as suddenly as it began, it was over. The factory lights didn't gradually change. They snapped instantly. It was morning. Sunlight streamed through high windows he'd barely ever noticed before. The machines slowed down, their cycles finally completing, and then they stopped. The normal sounds of the building returned. Workers for the morning shift started coming through the main doors, laughing and talking. Someone shook his shoulder. "Hey, you okay?" a coworker asked. "You look rough." He looked at the clock on the wall, 7:02 a.m. Time was moving again. He asked what had happened during the night. They all said it was completely uneventful. No power issues, no alarms, and definitely no intercom announcements. Security logs showed nothing out of the ordinary. His time card, however, did show something strange. Clock out, 7 a.m. Total shift length, 19 hours. Payroll just assumed it was a glitch and corrected it manually. The doctor suggested it was a series of microsleep episodes or maybe dissociation brought on by stress. All perfectly plausible explanations. He transferred to the day shift not long after. But he says that sometimes, even now, he'll wake up in the middle of the night, and before he even looks, he'll see the glow of his phone on the nightstand. The time is always 3 a.m., and for just a second, he can feel it. He's back in the factory. It's still running, still lit,